In 1869, Ferdinand de Lesseps, the visionary behind the Suez Canal, was a hero. His triumph, linking the Mediterranean and Red Seas, had cemented France's engineering prowess and his own legendary status. He was seen as a man who could command nature itself, a master of grand projects, capable of anything. For a nation still smarting from military defeat, de Lesseps offered a beacon of ambition and a symbol of what French ingenuity could achieve on the global stage, inspiring immense public trust and admiration across the land. His next target was even bolder, a sea-level canal across the Isthmus of Panama, uniting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. This would be a game-changer for global trade, slashing journey times and transforming shipping economics. De Lesseps, believing his Suez success was directly transferable, scoffed at the idea of locks, insisting on a direct sea-level channel. He presented a vision of inevitable success, dismissing the immense differences between the arid Suez Desert and the notoriously humid, disease-ridden jungles of Central America, a fateful decision. To fund this monumental undertaking, the Compagnie Universelle du Canal Interocéanique de Panama was formed. De Lesseps chose to bypass large banks, instead appealing directly to the French public. Through an aggressive campaign, promising significant returns and national glory, he successfully raised hundreds of millions of francs by selling bonds to over 800,000 small investors across France. These were ordinary citizens, factory workers, farmers, shopkeepers, who poured their savings into what they believed was a guaranteed path to prosperity and a triumph for their nation. The engineering challenges, however, were gargantuan. Unlike the sandy, dry Suez, Panama was a land of dense rainforests, torrential rains, and treacherous mudslides. The Chagres River, prone to violent floods, needed taming. The initial surveys were incomplete and the estimates laughably optimistic. De Lesseps, more a diplomat than an engineer, often overruled technical experts, pushing forward with his sea-level plan despite growing concerns from those who understood the terrain's brutal realities, prioritizing vision over feasibility. De Lesseps's unwavering confidence was infectious, yet dangerously misplaced. He projected an aura of invincibility, often publicly stating that the canal would be completed ahead of schedule and under budget. He famously claimed the tropical climate was not a hindrance, but a challenge easily overcome. His speeches were masterclasses in optimism, but they masked a deepening disconnect from the grim realities unfolding in Panama. This public display of unwavering certainty, while inspiring investors, discouraged honest assessments from within the company.
The company needed constant infusions of capital to keep the project afloat. Each time, de Lesseps turned to the small French investors, launching new bond issues with increasingly attractive, even unsustainable rates of return. The public, still mesmerized by his reputation, continued to invest, often liquidating their life savings or taking out loans, convinced that the canal was a sure thing. This created a classic speculative bubble, where the price of the bonds was detached from the project's actual progress or financial health, driven purely by hope. But the true enemy in Panama wasn't just the earth, it was the invisible forces of the jungle. Malaria and yellow fever, then poorly understood, ravaged the workforce. Thousands of laborers, engineers, and administrators fell ill, and thousands more died. Hospitals were overwhelmed, and fear spread like wildfire. The constant turnover of staff severely hindered progress, as experienced personnel either succumbed to disease or fled the deadly conditions. This unseen enemy became the project's most formidable and devastating opponent. Early engineering efforts were a chaotic mess. Equipment rusted in the incessant rain, machinery broke down, and landslides frequently undid weeks of excavation. The sheer volume of earth to be moved was vastly underestimated. Engineers, faced with impossible conditions, became demoralized. The original plan for a sea-level canal was proving impractical, if not outright impossible, yet de Lesseps refused to acknowledge the fundamental flaws in his vision. The financial bleeding began almost immediately, spiraling out of control. The idea of reverting to a lock canal, a more feasible engineering solution, was briefly considered by some engineers. Such a change would have been sensible, but it represented a public admission of error, which de Lesseps refused to countenance. His personal prestige and the image of his company were too deeply intertwined with the sea-level concept. This refusal to adapt, to pivot from an unworkable plan, locked the project into an unsustainable trajectory, leading to colossal waste and further delays that ultimately proved fatal. The death toll continued to climb, an unspeakable tragedy. Over 20,000 lives, primarily workers from the Caribbean, Europe, and the United States, were lost to disease and accidents during the French effort. This catastrophic human cost was largely ignored or downplayed by the company in its public reports. The project literally consumed human lives at an astonishing rate, a testament to the brutal conditions and the company's lack of effective medical and safety protocols, making it one of history's deadliest engineering endeavors.
As costs soared and progress faltered, the company resorted to increasingly deceptive practices. Official reports were doctored, deadlines stretched, and the true extent of the financial and human crisis was meticulously concealed from the public and investors. Optimistic pronouncements continued to flow from Paris, painting a rosy picture that bore no resemblance to the grim reality in Panama. This deliberate suppression of truth was crucial to maintaining the flow of investments, but it built the entire enterprise on a foundation of lies and misdirection. Desperate for funds, the company lobbied the French government for permission to issue new lottery bonds, a highly speculative and risky form of investment. To secure this permission, a vast network of bribery was established. Politicians, journalists, and even members of the French Parliament were paid off to ensure favorable legislation and positive press coverage. This illicit spending drained company resources even further, illustrating the deep rot that had set in at the heart of the once revered enterprise, corrupting French institutions. The bribery scheme, known as la Compagnie des chèques, involved issuing thousands of checks to influence public opinion and secure government support. Payments were made to silence critics, sway votes, and ensure the continued flow of public investment. This elaborate network of corruption became an open secret in French political circles, yet for a time the payments succeeded in staving off a full public reckoning. It was a cynical manipulation of public trust, funded by the very investors they were deceiving, a financial betrayal. Eventually, the truth could no longer be contained. Independent journalists and disgruntled former employees began to expose the financial mismanagement, the human cost, and the widespread corruption. The scale of the deceit was staggering. The news hit France like a thunderbolt, turning public opinion instantly. The once celebrated de Lesseps and his company became symbols of national shame and financial malfeasance, sparking widespread outrage among the betrayed investors and the general public alike. The ensuing Panama scandal became one of the largest political financial scandals of the 19th century. It rocked the Third French Republic to its foundations, leading to public inquiries and widespread arrests. Several prominent politicians and businessmen were implicated, their careers ruined, their reputations shattered. The scandal exposed a deep vein of corruption within the French establishment, forever changing the public's perception of grand national projects and those who led them, eroding trust in government. The financial unraveling of the Compagnie Universelle du Canal Interocéanique was swift and brutal. With public trust shattered and no new funding available, the company collapsed. In 1889, it was declared bankrupt, its assets worthless, its grand vision in ruins. This wasn't just a corporate failure, it was a national tragedy, a testament to how poor management, hubris, and corruption could bring down even the most ambitious endeavors. The bankruptcy marked the end of an era of French financial confidence. For the hundreds of thousands of small French investors, the bankruptcy meant absolute devastation. Their life savings, carefully accumulated over years, vanished overnight. Pensions, inheritances, and future hopes dissolved into thin air. Many faced destitution, their trust in financial institutions and government shattered. The human toll of the financial collapse was immense, manifesting as widespread poverty, despair, and a profound sense of betrayal among the common people who had believed in their national hero. The political fallout was equally severe. Ministers resigned, accusations flew, and the very stability of the Third Republic was questioned. Ferdinand de Lesseps himself, along with his son Charles, faced charges of fraud and mismanagement.
Though eventually pardoned due to ill health, his public image was irrevocably tarnished. The scandal left a deep scar on French politics, fueling anti-establishment sentiment and permanently altering the relationship between the public, finance, and government, a cautionary tale of accountability. De Lesseps, the once celebrated hero, faded into obscurity and ill health, his final years overshadowed by the immense failure and scandal. He died in 1894, a broken man, a stark reminder that even the greatest successes of the past cannot guarantee future triumphs, especially when vision is untempered by pragmatism and honesty. His legacy, once golden, was forever stained by the catastrophic financial and human cost of the Panama Project, a tragic end for a once inspirational figure. The financial loss was staggering, estimated at around 1.5 billion francs, an astronomical sum for the era. This vast amount, primarily drawn from the pockets of ordinary French citizens, simply vanished. It was one of the largest financial write-offs in history, representing a colossal misallocation of capital fueled by unchecked optimism, poor planning, and rampant corruption. The economic impact on France was substantial, affecting investment confidence for decades to come, a lesson in capital destruction.
Beyond the financial numbers, the human cost was immeasurable. More than 22,000 lives were lost to disease and accidents, a statistic that often gets overshadowed by the financial drama. These were not just numbers. They were fathers, sons, and brothers, often impoverished laborers seeking a better life, whose dreams were extinguished in the unforgiving jungle. Their sacrifice, largely unacknowledged at the time, stands as a stark reminder of the true price of unchecked ambition, a profound tragedy. The physical legacy of the French effort remained: a partially dug, overgrown trench, rusted machinery, and a vast network of abandoned camps, slowly reclaimed by the relentless jungle. It was a haunting monument to a dream gone wrong, a testament to human hubris and the raw power of nature. For years, this abandoned landscape stood as a stark reminder of the project's failure, a silent warning to future generations about the perils of underestimating monumental challenges, a ruined landscape. It would take a new nation, the United States, and a new approach, utilizing lock technology and a deeper understanding of tropical disease, to finally complete the Panama Canal years later. But the lessons from the French disaster were critical. They highlighted the absolute necessity of meticulous planning, scientific expertise, and ethical governance in grand infrastructure projects. The French failure served as an invaluable, albeit tragic, blueprint for American success, a costly but essential education. The story of the French Panama Canal is a cautionary tale not just of engineering, but of finance, human nature, and national ambition. It reminds us that even the most inspiring visions can crumble without robust financial controls, transparent governance, and a clear-eyed understanding of reality. Grand projects, especially those funded by public trust, demand unwavering integrity, lest they become monuments to ruin. It's a hard truth. Trust, once lost, is incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to reclaim. The French Panama Canal disaster serves as a powerful reminder that financial history is replete with stories where ambition outruns reality. It's a stark lesson in the perils of speculative bubbles fueled by charismatic leaders, political influence, and a lack of due diligence. The millions lost and the thousands of lives sacrificed underscore a timeless truth. Unchecked optimism, combined with widespread corruption, can transform a nation's grandest dream into its most profound and devastating financial nightmare.